welcome back to American History Live's 250th birthday celebration. Hello, Abigail Adams here. Today I am joined by Alexander Hamilton and Betsy Ross to share Thomas Paine's Common Sense.
Hello, I am Alexander Hamilton. As Common Sense is a 47-page pamphlet, we will be discussing just a few of the key points in the pamphlet.
Hello, I'm Betsy Ross. First published on January 10th, 1776, Common Sense spread throughout the 13 colonies and led many to abandon the idea of reconciliation with the British and instead embrace independence.
The full title of Thomas Paine's pamphlet is Common Sense, addressed to the inhabitants of America.
Mr. Paine went much further than a simple no taxation without representation or liberty. Mr. Paine reflected on new ideas of government, why we have government, and an outright rejection of the divine right of kings.
Mr. Paine, in his introduction, makes it clear that this is not just about minor disagreements between America and Britain. Instead, the cause of America is in a great measure the cause of all mankind.
Mr. Paine takes a whole new look at the government in part one of his Common Sense of the origin and design of the government in general. Mr. Paine states, society is produced by our wants and governments by our wickedness. The former promotes happiness positively by uniting our affections, the latter negatively by restraining our vices. What Mr. Paine is saying is the reason we have governments is to protect us from our own and other shortcomings. Students, do we always get along with each other? Does everybody always agree and make the right choices in life? That's right. No. And so we created government, according to Mr. Paine, to ensure that those that didn't follow the rules or didn't follow society would be held to account.
He also said government, even in its best state, is but a necessary evil. In its worst state, an intolerable one. Mr. Paine contends security being the true design and end of government, meaning that the government's responsibility is the security of the people. Is that right, Mrs. Adams?
Absolutely. It is the responsibility of the government to secure the people and protect the people.
Mr. Paine is contending that people voluntarily surrender some of their freedoms to ensure the protection of their general freedoms and property.
And he contends that the origin of government are actually quite democratic. They began as assemblies of all men, but later became representative bodies as society grew larger.
Mr. Paine states that community and government will mutually and naturally support each other. And on this depends the strength of the government and the happiness of the governed. So Mr. Paine is saying something very revolutionary here. That is the idea that people must support the government. Students, do you think that's a good idea that government is stronger when people are supportive of the government? Absolutely.
Supporters of British rule pointed to the English Constitution as an establishment of a government of the people. Common sense rejects this idea.
Mr. Paine points out that both the king himself and the House of Lords are, by being hereditary, are independent of the people. Wherefore, in a constitutional sense, they contribute nothing towards the freedom of the state.
Common sense is not a protest that the colonies have no representation in Parliament. It is a rejection of the entire British system. Mr. Paine recognizes the prejudice of Englishmen in favor of their own government by kings, lords, and commons arises much more from national pride than reason. He contemplates that it is wholly owing to the constitution of the people and not the constitution of the government that the crown is not as oppressive in England as it is in so many other countries around the world.
Common sense is a complete rejection of monarchy, as the exalting one man so greatly above the rest cannot be justified on the equal rights of nature. For all men being original equals, no one by birth could have a right to set up his own family in perpetual preference to all others forever.
Mr. Paine brings up multiple points to back up his desire to rid America and society in general of monarchs. It opens a door to the foolish, the wicked, and the improper, he says. It can be possessed by a minor at any age, and a king's own out with age and infirmity. Does being born into the right family automatically lead to virtue and intelligence?
What do you think, students? Do you think just being born to a certain family means that you're, bright and intelligent? Our students are definitely saying no. After laying out arguments against the English Constitution and particularly the idea of a king, Mr. Paine divides or dives into the current state of affairs between America and Great Britain in his Common Sense. He states in the following pages, I offer nothing more than simple facts, plain arguments, and common sense. Do you see where his title Common Sense comes from? Mr. Paine believes this is a no-brainer.
For Mr. Paine, the period of debate is closed. Arms as the last resource decide the contest. The appeal was the choice of the king, and the continent has accepted the challenge. This is January 1776. The war has begun before July 4th, 1776. All plans, proposals prior to the 19th of April, i.e. to the commencement of hostilities, are like the almanacs of the last year, which though proper then are superseded and useless now. What happened on April 19th, 1775?
Does anybody know what happened on April 19th, 1775? It's actually known as the shot heard round the world.
Oh.
This is the day, April 19th, 1775, the battles of Lexington and Concord, the very first battles of the American Revolution, occurred.
But there were still those who wanted to remain with Great Britain. To those who felt, she has protected us, Mr. Paine responds, for the sake of her own trade and dominion, He discusses the diversity of immigrants to America. Europe, and not England, is the parent country of America. This new world hath been the asylum for the persecuted lovers of civil and religious liberty from every part of Europe.
How will we survive and thrive? Commerce will secure us the peace and friendship of all of Europe. No need to get involved in European conflict because of our relationship with Great Britain.
So Mr. Paine here is saying, hey, we don't need Great Britain. And actually, being a part of Great Britain is going to make it more likely that we're going to be involved in other wars. So he continues, reconciliation is now a fallacious dream. Now, you may be wondering, what does fallacious mean? It is a false dream.
Impossible.
Impossible. That's correct, Mrs. Ross. Mr. Paine also addresses the practical in his common sense. To be always running 4,000 miles with a tail or a petition to small islands not capable of protecting themselves are the proper objects of the government to take under their care. But there is something absurd in supposing a continent be perpetually governed by an island.
Due to these factors, Mr. Paine always considered the independency of this continent as an event which sooner or later must arrive.
Why now? A government of our own is our natural right, and when a man seriously reflects on the precariousness of human affairs, he will become convinced that it is infinitely wiser and safer to form a constitution of our own in a cool, deliberate manner, while we have it in our power, than to trust such an interesting event to time and chance.
Of course, not everyone was convinced that America could take on the powerful Britain, but in Mr. Paine's response, he is convinced that it is possible. He says, "'Tis not in numbers, but in unity that our great strength lies. Yet our present numbers are sufficient to repel the forces of all the world."
Mr. Paine is very much being optimistic in America's future. And in regards to funds, debts, we have none. And whatever we may contract on this account, the account of liberty and revolution, will serve as a glorious memento of our virtue.
As to having no navy, Mr. Paine shares that we have all the resources needed due to our abundant natural resources. No country on the globe is happily situated or so internally capable of raising a fleet as America. Tar, timber, iron, and cordage are her natural produce. A few able and social sailors will soon instruct sufficient number in the common work of a ship.
Was Mr. Paine exalting America's capabilities while downplaying Britain's? Yes, that is why common sense was effective in inspiring a nation of many reluctant revolutionaries.
And Thomas Paine's goal was not just to ratify or rally support for the fight that had already begun between Great Britain and America with the battles of Lexington and Concord and others. He wanted something in addition to fighting. He wanted a formal Declaration of Independence document. Remember, Thomas Paine wrote Common Sense January 10th, 1776. When do we recognize America formally declaring independence? Does anybody remember the date that we formally declared independence from Great Britain? It is correct. The 4th of July, July 4th, 1776. So Thomas Paine's Common Sense was written before the Declaration of Independence. And so Mr. Paine was making the argument, hey, we need a Declaration of Independence. As he states, nothing can settle our affairs so expeditiously or as an open and determined Declaration of Independence.
Why? To be recognized by other nations, to secure mediation, to secure support, to drop the idea we are rebels to our government, for trade to secure our economic future. Thomas Paine helped secure support for the coming Declaration of Independence.
Thomas Paine's Common Sense laid the foundation of American independence, and also many of the ideas for the future American government. We encourage you to read Common Sense in its entirety.